Hello everyone and welcome to the first of hopefully new series of videos that we're going to be running here on the Kickabout Podcast YouTube channel, where we kind of react to the big stories of the week. And this one is a story that's quite kind of close to my heart, being a West Ham fan, and it's definitely one that is the news story of the moment. So before we get going, I just want to make sure that everyone is aware that we do our podcast every single week. It goes live on a Tuesday morning for you guys, for your commute to work. It goes live in the early hours. So if you do want to check us out and give us a listen, it'd be massively appreciated if you did. Go and check us out. We are available on all of the major podcast apps. Just go and search the Kickabout Podcast and you'll find us in there. We've been doing 3.5 years now, coming towards the end of our third season doing this. So yeah, we're 162 episodes in. Is it 4 seasons? I can't remember how many seasons it is. 162 episodes, so a lot. And also, if you guys are into retro video games at all, in particular retro football games, LMA Manager 2007 was a massive childhood favourite of mine, and Dan and myself from the podcast have been playing a LMA career mode for the last couple of years, and this series has got some really respectable viewing numbers. It's garnered a bit of a cult following. We've had a great time with it, so if you do want to check that out, make sure you go and have a look at the videos available on our channel as well. So with all that good stuff, make sure you like and comment on this video as well. Of course, all that usual stuff, hit that sub button and all that kind of good stuff. But we're going to get into it because this one is a video that I wanted to make because I've grown more and more frustrated with a lack of understanding and a lack of will or want of understanding as well in amongst the general footballing public, and especially within the media, about the reasons why West Ham fans are so unhappy with David Moyes right now. So before we go into this, I'm going to try and keep this succinct. You know, this might turn into a bit of a rant. I'm going to try and keep it on topic. I'm going to try and keep it into some kind of succinct order. And the first thing I want to talk about is David Moyes and the history running up to this. I want to give this balance. I want to talk about the things that he has done well for West Ham, because I feel like it is important to recognise the good things that he has done, even though it doesn't excuse the bad things. So the good things he's done, I mean, look, he's taken us from a relegation fighting team to a team that's spent 3 of the last 4 seasons he's been in charge in Europe. And we've had a European trophy, which, all right, granted, we probably should have won with the quality of teams in there compared to the money spent and the quality of our team. We've had some memorable nights during that time in Europe. We've had some fantastic victories over rivals during the last couple of years and even already this season. So it's, you know, I don't want to just instantly dismiss his achievements, because when he does leave, whether it's now, whether it's the end of the season, whether it's in a year or two, I fucking hope not, but if it is in a year or two's time, whenever that may be, there is a good chance he is going to go down in history as statistically one of our most successful managers of all time. So that's the good stuff, that's the balancing stuff, and he has galvanised the squad, or he had galvanised the squad up to a point. But the weekend's results seems to be being viewed in the wider footballing world as a knee-jerk reaction in terms to our response to it, and the outpouring of anger and sadness in some cases. West Ham fans are just sort of deflated by the whole thing. And it does feel like people are not fully aware and fully understanding of the reasons why. Because what happens is that they look at the league table and they see that we, you know, up until fairly recently, we were sort of like 6th position. I think we're 8th now. They've seen the fact that we won a European trophy last season. They see the fact that as a club, West Ham are probably 6th is about our ceiling, realistically. And I don't necessarily disagree with a great deal of that. But the problem is that stats don't tell a full story. You know, how many times have we seen games where one team has won and then actually the statistics show that, you know, it looked like it was a comfortable win when in reality it wasn't, or even vice versa. I'm looking back to the West Ham Brighton game earlier in the season, where I think in the first half West Ham had 13 successful passes, and Brighton had over 270 something. I don't know if that was the first half completely, or it was certainly a period of the first half. Wildly different stats, and yet West Ham came away 3-0 winners in that game. So stats don't tell the full story, and I think it's very important for fans outside of West Ham fans, so fans of other clubs and media personalities out there, in particular some of the pundits on Talk Sport, who have been very borderline offensive, actually, to be honest, borderline quite dismissive and really kind of just, I don't get the anger almost towards the West Ham fans. But anyway, but when you're of those groups of people and you're not watching West Ham week in, week out, you're not watching the 90 minutes of football that's being played each and every week, I understand why it would be difficult for you to have that to have the same opinion as us. I understand why when you're looking at the results, the stats, everything else through that lens, I can understand why you would think, well, what the hell have they got to moan about? You're sixth in the league, you've won a European trophy, what the hell do you guys want? I totally understand why you would have that point of view, but what's happening is that they're not appreciating our side of the argument, in that what we're watching is fucking depressing. And for me, football is, and always has been, about entertainment. It's an escape, and for a lot of people it's probably more of an escape than it is for me. You get to a weekend after a week of work. Some people work far longer hours and harder jobs than I do, and they get to a weekend and this is their kind of escape. This is the thing they look forward to all week. So when you turn up to a football ground at a weekend, it costs a lot of money, by the way, to go to football in modern times. It can be anything up to £100 a ticket. It can be the same again, depending on where you come from. Travel-wise, it could be, obviously a lot cheaper, but it could be quite expensive. Travel cards and train fares now are very expensive. It can be anything up to £7 or £8 a pint. It can be £10 or more for food, for a burger. It's a bloody expensive day out now. And in the world that we live in, and in the cost of living crisis that we've been living through for the last year or two, this is not an insignificant amount of money. So I don't think it's an unfair request of the West Ham fans to ask the West Ham players and the West Ham club to provide us with a level of entertainment. Now, winning games is always a good place to start, right? Everyone wants to win games. I totally understand that. But at the moment, we're not. Okay, we've not won a game this calendar year. We're being dominated by inferior opposition. We are being smashed left, right and centre by better teams as well now. And I'm worried at the trend that is beginning to happen. So when we turn up on a weekend and we go to our games, we paid all that money to go, and you see teams like Bristol City turn up. And by the way, we played a full strength team against Bristol City in that FA Cup game. They played us off the park. We played Bournemouth at home. I understand Bournemouth are in a good spot, but is anyone going to stand there with a straight face and tell me that they've got a better team than West Ham? I'm not buying that. They played us off the park, and they should have won that game. I don't know how they did. We went to Sheffield United away from home. They should have won that game. We played Burnley. They should have beaten us. I can go back for all of these games. Quite frankly, on another day, Arsenal would have beaten us. The last time we won a game, ironically, was at the Emirates, 2-0 on the 28th. They very much should have beaten us. So, I don't know, even the Man United game before that, they should have beaten us as well. So, we've been riding a lot. We've been riding on individual moments of quality. We've been relying on those moments to get us through games. This isn't something new, right? So 2023, last season, we were in a relegation fight almost all season. We had a decent, if I remember rightly, we had a decent start. I can't remember if we had a decent start to the season or not, or whether we were just trash all year. But certainly in the second half of the season, I remember it being really, really bad. And I believe that up until about game week 28, we were in the relegation zone. And even after that, I think we only finished 5 or 6 points above the drop come the end of the season. Now, I am utterly convinced that if we didn't have the European run that we had, Moyes would have been sacked. And there wouldn't have been any questions about it. There's been no questions whatsoever. Everyone would have been very much on board with the fact that, you've got a team like that, you should be doing better with the investment that's gone into that squad. So fast forward to now, obviously league position is improving, but I think we're on the slide. I personally think we're going to finish in the bottom half of the league and have a pretty subpar second half of the season. I don't see us going very far in Europe the way we're playing right now. So things aren't going in the right direction for us, and that has heightened the disapproval of the style of football that Moyes produces. So let's talk about that style of football, because that really is the big bone of contention. That is the one thing, the one pillar that every West Ham fan who dislikes David Moyes is kind of saying that is the main reason I want David Moyes to go. So here's a couple of things I just want to point out. Does a low block, does a counter-attacking defensive mentality work? Yes, it can. There are many ways to win a football match, and it's not a given. It is not a law or a requirement that you have to play progressive attacking football in order to win a football match. West Ham have proved that over the last couple of years. But in order to do that, you have to make sure that your defence is at it every single game. If you're going to set up in a defensive way, you better be damn sure that your defence is decent. And at the moment, we're not. We're conceding way too many goals. And you've got to make sure that you're devastating on the counter-attack. So let's talk about Sunday just gone. And it's not just this Sunday as well. This has happened in previous times as well. We are setting up with 8 defensive players against Arsenal at home. Now, I am more than happy to admit that Arsenal are a better team. They are a class above us. They've got better players. Their goals and aspirations for this season are far beyond ours. I have absolutely no problem with that. But there are ways to lose a football match. And the way in which we lost that game at the weekend was largely down to the fact that we couldn't get out. First 20 minutes, we had 1 or 2 counter-attacks and we looked all right. But that was all it was. That was all we could muster. And as soon as that first goal went in, West Ham, to me, it felt like they were completely and utterly clueless about what they had to do next. It looked like they were completely just devoid of a plan, devoid of ideas in terms of how to get back into this game and how to maybe get at Arsenal a little bit and try and recover something from this game. And for me, that setup of that team, and it was the same the week before, it's just all wrong. You've got a backup right back playing at left wing. Max Cornet on the bench has seen Pablo Fornals and Benrahma, and we'll get into that in a moment as well. Pablo Fornals and Benrahma go, who are playing ahead of him in that left wing position. Paquetá's currently injured. And he probably thinks, well, now's my chance. He's the only player from West Ham to score from open play in this calendar year. And he still can't get in the team. Danny Ings had his best game against Sheffield United. He still can't get in the team. David Moyes continues to persist with Jarrod Bowen up front because David Moyes has got this thing about strikers that no matter who plays up there, they have to play like Antonio. They have to play that lone role where they just chase everything and feed off scraps all game. That's the role that he wants every single striker that plays up there to do. And we've had, obviously, strikers in the past who are far technically better players than that, Haller and Skamaka being the obvious ones, who've not been able to do that because that's not their game. So it's no wonder they failed and they've been expensive flops. So Jarrod Bowen has now gone through the middle and he's been completely nerfed. We saw 1 or 2 good games with him, in particular when Paquetá was still around because he's such a creative force. But now, Bowen is just running and chasing shadows. He's doing absolutely nothing. We were lumping balls up to him at the weekend, expecting him to do something up against Gabriel and Saliba, arguably 2 of the best defenders in the league. And they're big blokes. You know, Bowen is not the biggest guy in the world. He's going to struggle. So, for me, it seemed like a really obvious thing to put Ings or Mabama, who's on the bench, through the middle up front and put Bowen back out on his favourite position on the right and put Kudus out on the left. I don't see why that is such a crazy decision, a crazy thing to do. So yeah, so after all that, so I'm trying to come full circle. I did warn that this might go off into a bit of a rant, but where we are right now with this style of football is that when you set up that low block in the same way we did against Arsenal, in the same way we do against everybody, number one, you're very easy to play against because you're giving up the ball. You're giving up a huge amount of possession. If you're not dangerous on the counter, you have no plan B. You cannot get out. And as soon as you get caught and as soon as you concede a goal, it's almost like it's game over. As soon as you go behind in a game, it's like it's almost game over because the style of football doesn't allow you to come out and play. And there have been 1 or 2 times this season where West Ham have had more possession than the opponents. And if I remember rightly, we looked utterly lost. It's like the players had no idea what to do. It's like, what is this round thing at our feet that we're passing now? We're not used to this. So there is a real problem there in that we have this one way of playing and no other way. There's no plan B. And ultimately, from a fan's point of view, they're coming up and seeing this. They know what to expect. You can practically pick the team that's going to play every week. You can definitely pick the tactics. And every other manager and football player that comes to the London Stadium or plays against us away from home at their ground knows exactly what we're going to do. And they can counter it. And I think what we're seeing now is we're seeing a very obvious shift and change in how teams approach West Ham. And I think that is why, for the first couple of seasons, we had a good amount of success against teams, and now we're seeing more often than not, and I know it has succeeded on occasions this season, we are seeing more often than not now, teams are finding us out. And we've had warnings of this already. Fulham drubbed us 5-0 at their ground not that long ago. Liverpool gubbed us 4-0. And again, on paper, Liverpool can do that to a lot of teams. But the way in which it happened, if you look at the game, if you watch the game, you will see that we just bent over and took it up the backside, and it could have been an awful lot more. If Arteta didn't take pity on us at the weekend and subbed Saka and Rice and I think he took Martinelli off as well. If he didn't take off his big hitters in that game could have been practically any scoreline they wanted. I genuinely think that would have been another 9-0, and James Ward-Prowse vibes from Southampton to West Ham would have been a real curse. I think that it could have happened. So this isn't a flash in the pan like a lot of people are suggesting. This is a culmination of everybody finding out about us. And we did catch Arsenal on a good day. They were extremely clinical. They were very good in possession, and they absolutely whooped us and they put us to the sword. And it culminated with us having a real bad day defensively. We are normally better than that as a collective group defensively, but it's still just a pattern, and it's a pattern that is repeating itself. And this is why West Ham fans are so frustrated with David Moyes, because they're not seeing him try anything different. They're not seeing him deploy different players, deploy different tactics. It's like Einstein's theory of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I just don't get where this goes forward from here, and I don't see Moyes changing. He's proving to be very stubborn, and I think we know that he is. So there is a problem, and this is the main reason why, when I say to people why I don't like Moyes and why I think he should leave, I don't think he should leave right now. I think he's probably earned enough grace with us to see out his contract to the end of the season. We're not going to get relegated. So look, let's see the season out. I don't see how any manager who comes in right now in February is going to make any drastic impact between now and the end of the season. All I hope is that if they're not going to renew Moyes' contract, that they're making a plan now to make sure they get a manager in early. So that's why I get frustrated when I hear all these pundits and I hear all these other football fans just sort of like attacking us because they feel like we're entitled, or we're selfish and we have short-term memory loss. It's like, look, no West Ham fan is going to reject the notion that Moyes hasn't given us some amazing memories during his time. And I personally will be thankful to him for stabilising us at a time when we looked in real trouble. And don't forget, this is the second time he saved us. We've attracted some really good players while he's been at the club. Not all of them have worked out, especially the strikers. But I feel like he's hit a ceiling, and I feel like there's not much else now he can do in it. And with the crop of players that we have, I feel like they are better suited to playing a better and more expansive brand of football. You can't tell me that Kudus, Paquetá, Bowen, Emerson, even James Ward-Prowse wouldn't be better in a more progressive team than they are right now. Paquetá is being held back, and so is Kudus, playing in a defensive style. He doesn't play like that for Brazil, and that's why he's so good with Brazil, and that's why he's been good with us. When we've had periods of possession, we've looked a little bit more dangerous. When West Ham have had those days where they've been at it, that's why Paquetá looks like a genius at times, because he's that type of player that can make stuff happen. But he can't make stuff happen if we're just sat behind the ball defending all day. So I that's what I think. I think if we had a team full of Thomas Součeks or maybe Jared Bowens, a team full of Jared Bowens, and that's no disrespect to Jared Bowens' ability, because he's a really, really good footballer. I love him to pieces. But because of his work rate, he sometimes can fall into that bracket where you think he's just a bit of a workhorse and not much more, which is totally untrue. But if David Moyes had a team full of that, if he effectively had like a Burnley of the past or a Stoke of the past, I don't think anyone would really criticise Moyes for taking on this style. But now we've got this team now, I think the team has almost outgrown Moyes. That's kind of what it feels like to me. The last couple of points I wanted to make, I wanted to reference a article that was written in The Guardian about Moyes, about his viewpoint in the world. Now, I'm going to bring it up here. So I'm going to quote this. This is written by Barney Ronay, I think how you pronounce his surname. And I quote, "Moyes is basically the last of the anti-possession men, the only current manager to take an active decision to have less, not more, of the ball. West Ham are seventh bottom in Europe's top 5 leagues on possession percentage this season, and the only team in that company for whom this is a deliberate choice." I mean, that makes my teeth itch, the fact that we are, in that sort of company. It doesn't surprise me in reality. But we're also, he said, the only team to have translated so little of the ball into so many points. I mean, that you've got to say is a positive, right? He's being very efficient, I guess is the right word. But to remain unexceptional on every other metric is kind of scary as well, because he says, in every other metric, we are unexceptional, so nowhere near the top, I guess is what he means, apart from these two statistics. These are the two statistics that West Ham excel at. Right, I'll give you a moment to have a little educated guess amongst yourselves what you think they might be. Clearances and goals from set pieces. Those are the only two statistics that we excel at, right? Those are the only two. So in this context, it is Moyes' team who are the exotics and the cultural antagonists now. L'Equipe, who is a French newspaper, report on the game against Brighton in August and described it as a clash of styles that verges on the cartoonish. That's how it's viewed from paparazzi in other countries when they saw that game. West Ham made 13 passes to Brighton's 221 in the opening half an hour, there you go, but still won the game. And while football may be austere and tedious at times for the neutral, it's also a bracing point of contrast in a league where an entire half can be spent watching defence and deep midfields engaged in the footballing equivalent of competitive knitting. I mean, I couldn't have summed it up better myself. That is exactly what West Ham fans will feel like. They will go to a game, and a lot of it has been made about the London Stadium and the lack of atmosphere. And yes, the fans are at fault for that to a point, but they also need something to be excited about, and there isn't anything to be excited about really when they're watching West Ham. West Ham are 7th in the league and still in Europe despite a basic energy that goes against pretty much every dynamic in the modern game. This includes surveillance culture refereeing with a tendency to fire off micro penalties at the first sign of deep defence. It includes a basic disregard for self-promotion, while so many other managers treat the current job as an interview for the next one, a chance to demonstrate their possession of wizzy and integrating philosophies and look, a style, something that can be sold to the next set of fans. So that is very, very telling, because all of these fans that are saying to us, you should be, happy that you've got Moyes, he's done such a great job. I just wonder how many of those fans would actually be happy if their manager was sacked. Let's say, for example, try and find Brighton are probably just about comparable in terms of league position to where we are right now. They play a much more attractive brand of football. If we swapped De Zerbi for Moyes, you telling me that Brighton fans are going to be pleased about that? You think Brighton fans are going to think they're getting a like for like, or they're getting an upgrade on that? There's absolutely no way. There's absolutely no way that they will think that. So that for me is part of it. I also cite examples in the previous times. You've had Claudio Ranieri, who won the league, and then I think he was sacked before the next Christmas because things turned really bad because he got found out. Jose Mourinho at Manchester United and Spurs. He had degrees of success at both clubs. With Man United, I think he won a couple of trophies. But ask most Man United fans, they'll tell you they hated his brand of football. The same at Spurs. The same with Conte at Spurs and Conte at Chelsea towards the end. It's the same with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Manchester United. It's the same with Steve Bruce at Newcastle. There are so many examples of managers who have had degrees of success relative to the ambitions of the team they're managing, where the fans fucking hate the football, and yet it was fine to hate the managers and agree with everyone there that the football's crap. They deserve better. But apparently West Ham, it's not. Apparently West Ham, we are above our station. We're entitled. We think we should be fucking winning the league every year. That's not the case. I don't know where this notion has come from, because I read a lot of social media, I read a lot of posts around from West Ham fans. I don't see anybody stating that we should be winning leagues and winning cups on a regular basis. We know we shouldn't. All West Ham fans have ever really wanted is for the players to turn up and put their heart and soul into the match and entertain the fans. In the same way that right now Ange is getting that level of sort of respect from his fans. The Chelsea game early in the season where Spurs played them and they lost 4-1, I think it was, and they went down to 9 men and they were doing that ridiculous high line defence, but because they kept giving it a go and they created more chances, the fans applauded them off the pitch. They'd just been beaten 4-1 by their rivals and pretty much imploded through that game with the red cards the way they were handed out. I think it was Udogie and Romero, but their fans applauded them off. And that's the level of connection that Ange, the players and the fans all have, because they're all pulling in the same way. The fans appreciate the style. They appreciate the fact they're being entertained and that they're seeing results on the pitch as a result. They won't mind a setback here or there. They won't mind at all because they're being entertained. And West Ham fans are the same. We don't expect to be challenging for the top four. We're not that kind of club. Not yet anyway, not without serious investment in the future. Or a bit of luck here and there. We've seen other clubs, Villa are knocking on the door. We've seen Leicester knock on the door a few times in recent years before they got relegated. So it's not out of the realms of possibility that West Ham could do that in the future, but we're not expecting it. And I don't know why or where this has come from that West Ham fans expect this, because we don't. I don't get it. I really don't get it at all. So just want to, make sure that that's very clear. What West Ham fans want, because that's a question that I see a lot. What do you guys actually want? Why, if you're going to sack Moyes, who are you going to get in? And what do you guys actually want? You're 6th in the league. You should be happy. Well, why can't we have some ambition and say, actually, we would like to be in the same position in the league, but be playing better football? Because that's exactly what Newcastle are doing. That's exactly what Aston Villa are doing. It's exactly what Brighton are doing. It's exactly what Leicester did in the last few years before they got relegated. So why is it that they can be ambitious and have a style of football that translates into decent success for the club of their size, but we can't? Answer me that. That's where I don't get it. So that's very much my line in the sand with that. And I just want to finish on the point with the players and what's coming up in the summer for whoever's going to be in charge, because there is a bit of a storm coming for West Ham. Outside of this talk of Moyes and his future, there is actually a storm brewing that somebody is going to have to deal with, and this is not necessarily Moyes' fault. This, I think, is a combination of the board, maybe Tim Steidten as well, and maybe Moyes is involved in these decisions, I don't know. But we have got an issue with players. We have got a depleted squad, and we've got a squad of players that Moyes has universally only ever used a very small percentage of anyway. So what's happened is that Moyes has picked largely the same team every week for most of the season, with the odd change here or there. He's never played our youth team, despite our youth team having probably the most success they've had at youth level since the days of Defoe, Carrick and Joe Cole and Glenn Johnson. And what's happening is that he's alienating these players who are on the bench most weeks, which is why when Cornet comes on, or Danny Ings came on, or Fornals or Benrahma before they were sold, did nothing. Because they've had the confidence just drained out of them, because they only ever get 5 or 10 minutes here or there, and it just doesn't feel like Moyes ever really trusts them. And in a football match, in a football season with a squad of players, you have to have a set of players who sit on your bench most weeks that you can trust and believe in that they will come on and do a job when required. And we don't have that at West Ham because of the way that Moyes has treated them over a long period of time. The signing of Calvin Phillips, I think, could be a disaster. It is early days, I know, but I feel like we didn't need that position covering. And I just worry that Calvin Phillips needed to come into a team that was playing well, that has the ball more than they don't, so that he can get back to doing what he used to do best. But he's coming into a team already very low on confidence because of how it's gone for him at City. He's coming into a team that's now low on confidence, that doesn't have the ball very often, so he can't play his nice football that we know he can play when he was at Leeds. And he's already made a couple of mistakes that's led to goals, albeit from, he's been stitched up by a couple of passes into him. So I worry that Calvin Phillips is never going to get the confidence level required back in his game to actually show West Ham fans or football fans in general that he can get back to that level. So I feel like this is a disaster in the making with this one. Obviously we'll have to wait and see. It is still early days. But we've let Kerrer go, good squad player, liked him. He was prone to a mistake, but I loved his passion. And we've let Benrahma go. I wasn't massively bothered about Benrahma. His end product was really, really poor. But I couldn't believe we let him go and Fornals go at the same time. Fornals has just scored a belter in the top corner on his debut for Real Betis, by the way. And Benrahma is apparently loving life at Lyon, saying that it's much more intense than it is at West Ham. Take that with a pinch of salt, because it's a very easy trope to use against your former club when things weren't going well. So you've got those players that are already gone or could go. This coming summer, we've got Fabianski turning 39. He could go. Ogbonna, don't know if he's going to get an extension to his contract. He's getting on. Zuma's body looks absolutely broken. There's been consistent rumours about Aged and Antonio leaving. Aaron Creswell could be going. Then you've got people like Paquetá, whose release clause activates this summer, with 80 million apparently being enough to get him away. Will Man City come back in for him again? I mean, that's, 8 players I've just named? Let's not forget the players that probably should be sold. People like Thomas Souček, who I don't think is good enough. We are going to have a summer where we're going to have to potentially find 7, 8 players. Good players as well, players that can improve us, as well as just general bodies to get in and fill the bench. Danny Ings could walk because of his lack of football. Mabama is out of contract as a youth player. He could walk at the end of the season. So there is a storm coming for West Ham at the end of this year, and they're in real trouble if they don't get on top of this now. And I feel like putting a line in the sand quite early with your intentions, with the manager, with what's going to happen in the summer, I feel like is not going to be the worst idea ever. I'm not usually a fan of making these announcements early. Like, Jurgen Klopp's one came at a bit of an odd time as well. But I just feel like an announcement one way or the other will just give everyone clarity. If they announce Moyes staying, I really worry. Rumour is that David Sullivan, our owner, is very concerned about the discourse within the West Ham fans and the divide that's being created. As a businessman, obviously, he's got to look out for the best interests of the club as a whole, and it's, you know, an owner has to take into account the results. Of course he does, and he has to take into account the success that David Moyes has had. But from a reputational point of view, from a financial point of view, attracting new players to the club, are new talented players going to want to come to a club where the manager is universally disliked by half the fan base, where they're getting booed when they lose games all the time because of that? No player's going to want to come into that environment. So yeah, there are problems ahead outside of the Moyes situation. I hope that video has given you guys a little bit of an appreciation, a little bit of an understanding as to why West Ham fans are annoyed with Moyes. Look, if you're a West Ham fan and you're Moyes in, that's absolutely fine. You're completely entitled to your opinion. This is just purely my opinion. But if you're a football fan that sits outside of West Ham, if you're a football pundit, I just feel like you should be a little bit more open to hearing the reasons why that West Ham fans are upset, and a little bit more openness to the displeasures that we have about the style of football that we play, because it just feels like there is very little sentiment out there where people are understanding of the issue. Whether they laugh at the fact that West Ham are in this position or not, if they're a rival, whatever, that's football's banner, right? But, you know, don't just turn around and tell us that we should be happy because we're in 6th place. It's just lazy, quite frankly. Right. Anyway, I hope that was informative. I hope that, guys, has given you a little bit of a view on things. Let me know in the comments what you think. Hopefully I've articulated most of my points. There's probably some things that I wanted to say that I've maybe missed out. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you thought. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you ring that notification bell for all the future videos, and hit the sub button for all the latest as well. And we'll see you all in the next one.